Hey everyone, welcome to the Marty Supreme review. Today, before we get started, I'm going to show off my ping pong skills. We've got the Marty Mauser Supreme Ball. Dream big, let's go. I have a feared opponent today. Let's cut right to him. Now let's get into the review.
Marty Supreme is Marty Supreme is Marty Supreme.
It's no secret that I am a huge fan of the Safdie brothers' work. I did a huge video essay on Uncut Gems just recently. I'm a massive fan of that film. It is one of my all-time favorites with an all-time great performance from Adam Sandler. You can see the Criterion in the back. At one stage in my life, I saw that A24 were doing auctions and there was a real shirt worn in the movie that was up for auction, and I put a bid on it. It was like $1,000 or something. I didn't end up winning it, but man, if I had, I would have been in a bit of strife all for a shirt, but I was just that passionate about that movie. And so seeing the Safdie brothers split up for two separate films was very exciting. We got to see Benny Safdie's The Smashing Machine, which is also a film I really enjoyed for vastly different reasons than Uncut Gems. And Marty Supreme, the one from Josh Safdie, is the one that's getting all the acclaim, all the Oscar attention, 9 Academy Award nominations. It looks like Timothée Chalamet is finally going to get the Oscar he deserves for this film. And going to see this finally was just so amazing. I was so excited for this film for so many different reasons. And I not only got to see this, I got to see it in the famous Astor Theatre in Melbourne, where they were playing a 70mm presentation for this film. It's the first time I've ever seen anything presented on film before, and that was just another layer of excitement for me, because I hear all of these times of so many screenings, predominantly in LA and New York, that have 70mm screenings, and I wanted to finally see what the hype was all about. And Melbourne is one of the most greatest cities in Australia because it is able to have screenings that can also do that as well. I got the Marty Supreme poster, the Marty Supreme ping pong balls, all from this. It was just really cool and just a fun screening. And you know I had to wear the corroded orange. If you know, you know.
Hardcore orange, corroded orange, falling apart orange.
But yeah, let's talk about the actual movie, Marty Supreme. The film follows a real-life figure in Marty Mauser, but it has complete fun with this person. It takes the bare minimum characteristics from this person and creates a full fictional narrative from it. Timothée Chalamet playing Marty Mauser is phenomenal in this role. It was really interesting as well with this screening. You got to see a little preview beforehand. Instead of playing a ton of commercials, which a lot of theaters do, the Astor Theatre plays a lot of vintage things that would play before movies maybe 20 years ago. There was a cool Adam West segment, but something in particular that I found was just a really cool use of the preview system was playing a real-life ping pong match with the real-life figure before the movie kicked off. I think that was just a great way to set the tone and introduce us to the real-life figure. The film itself is very interesting. It does a lot of different things. It's very ambitious in scope, and I think for the people that wanted to see Timothée Chalamet in a Marty Scorsese film, this is kind of what it looks like, because Marty Supreme takes a lot of the sensibilities you would see in a Scorsese film, which is very similar to Uncut Gems, and it has that spin on it, that refreshing modern spin on a New York tale that I thought was so invigorating, so fresh and exciting, and something that gives you a lot to think about. I think as just a pure American film, this has all the makings of a potential future classic. It's split up in 3 very distinct acts, and yes, it doesn't make a whole note to separate the acts. The tone and structure of these acts feels very apparent. The first act is very much a high intensity, a comedic sports drama that feels inspirational and lives up to the theme of this movie, which is dream big. Marty Mauser is a figure that absolutely believes in himself 100%, backs himself in every single opportunity. Even when people are writing him off or not giving him the time of day, he makes his presence known, and he's trying to innovate within the ping pong space. He is trying to come up with a new ball that people can see clearly. It makes it more entertaining and fresh. He has all these marketing ideas in a way, and then he tries to back it up by playing excellent ping pong, and he's in this tournament, and it all just has the build of a great sports flick. It's edited supremely well. There's a fantastic use of montage here that is just at home with the genre. The film opens and just has a hold of you from the very beginning, and Timothée Chalamet is wonderful in all of these scenes. He's so committed. You can see that he really took the time to prepare for this role, that he learnt the craft of table tennis properly before going into it. There's so much physicality here. It's so interesting, unique. This character is somewhat similar to Howard Ratner in Uncut Gems, where he's talking a mile a minute. He's trying to convince you of things. And then you hit the second act where this character faces an interesting challenge. You see this character that has such a big ego be tested in a way it's never been tested before. And that's when the film kind of shifts tone completely and becomes very much an Uncut Gems, a good time in terms of a stressful film that is edited so well. It has characters talking over one another. It's frantic. There's so many things happening here, and it's all for the sake of trying to get money, trying to get ahead, just so that this character can achieve his dream. There are segments in here that are just so shocking that I just absolutely adored. It was very interesting. There's a moment in a hotel room with a bathtub that just had my jaw dropped. Like, it was just so shocking. And there's moments like that littered all the way through this film. Not to mention the great humor that is at play here that just creates a very fun and exciting film. The Safdie brothers have always had this frenetic energy, and Josh Safdie definitely brings that across in his individual directorial effort here. I particularly loved some of the daring humor at play here. Some things that they do toe the line a little bit, and it's not always for the faint of heart. And I really liked that it's willing to take these kinds of risks in order to just be funny with this dark sense of humor it has. It also highlights that this character that Timothée Chalamet plays isn't exactly the greatest person. Like a lot of the Safdie brothers protagonists, this character is also not the greatest of figures. He is manipulative, he's selfish, he doesn't care who gets hurt as long as he gets what he wants. And that's very reminiscent of Robert Pattinson's character in Good Time, or Adam Sandler's in Uncut Gems. And I think Timmy does a great spin on that here. And the way that he manipulates important people in his life, and some people that care about him, and the way that he's pushing these relationships to their absolute limit because he just cares about himself, and he's such an asshole through so much of it, is a little bit heartbreaking at times. And I think the supporting performances here do a great job here. I think this is one of the strongest ensembles in a 2025 film. There are some people that aren't even known for acting that are so great here. Kevin O'Leary has a somewhat substantial supporting role here, and he's great in that role as this rich asshole that is in so much power. But you can also understand some of the things that he does in this movie, because Marty Mauser is just not a great guy and does some things that personally really betraying this character that O'Leary plays. I really loved Odessa O'Zion. She almost got a supporting actress nomination at the Academy Awards. I think she was probably the 6th slot if there ever was one. And I think she was great in this role. It's the first thing I've ever seen her in. And the fact that she is working across someone that is giving borderline career best work in Timothée Chalamet, who is such an esteemed actor and is somewhat holding her own, is very interesting. And your heart just goes out to this character that is put into such an unfortunate predicament throughout. And she really shouldn't be going through all this because she's in a very vulnerable state. Then you also have Gwyneth Paltrow, who I think is also really excellent in this movie. I think the scenes that she has with Chalamet are wonderful and say so much about these characters and so much about how much Marty Mauser is trying to get ahead and how Gwyneth Paltrow can kind of see right through his bullshit in a lot of ways. And then you have the third act, which feels like a solid combination of what the first two acts built in terms of their style and pacing. It is so stressful and interesting while also holding on to the ambitions of Marty Mauser and having the ideas and the ambition to push something forward and believe in your own dreams, no matter what the cost. I think some of that is so fascinating, and the way that this film decides to wrap itself up, I think, left a really poignant message right at the end of the film, one that feels very personal to Josh Safdie himself, and the way that your aspirations can flick on a dime due to certain events in your life. That's something I've definitely experienced, and this sort of transformation that happens throughout, it's so subtle and it sneaks up on you, and the way that it is implemented right at the end I thought was so beautiful, and asked a little bit of Chalamet here to deliver something that really asks us to connect with him as a character in this moment, as he's truly vulnerable. And that's a hard thing to do because he's not the greatest guy throughout. He's someone that you love to hate. He is, as I said, like a Howard Ratner who just makes so many decisions that put him in these stressful situations that are derived purely off poor choices and selfish decision making. And then the moment where he shows some sort of vulnerability, you kind of do feel for the guy. And I think that's the beauty of these movies that the Safdies create, and especially what Josh Safdie has continued to do here. Because even despite all of that, you still have that empathy for this character. You want him to succeed. You believe in his dream because the performance is that damn good. The direction is that interesting. The way it's put together is just crafted so well. And I don't think there's very many filmmakers that can do the things that Josh Safdie can do in this film. I loved the energy to this thing. It's so exciting and fresh and bold and such an original story that also just feels like a predetermined classic from the very get-go. I love the style of these movies. I appreciate the score. The editing is supremely well. The cinematography is awesome, and the fact that I got to see that on 70mm film, the way it was designed was just utterly outstanding. The only note I could potentially give isn't really on the movie itself, it's more the Astor Theatre, which doesn't quite have the best sound system. It utilizes old DTS from maybe 20 years ago because it wants to capture a very olden day like cinematic experience, which is cool. But for a movie like this, where characters are talking over one another, there's music playing, that Safdie experience that's all chaotic, you really need to have a good sound system for everything to stand out. And there were definitely moments in this movie where I couldn't quite hear what was being said because of all the chaos. And I think if I had a better sound system, I don't think that would be an issue. Overall, Marty Supreme is definitely one of the strongest films of 2025. I think Josh Safdie is such a brilliant filmmaker, and I cannot wait to see what he does next, as well as his brother Benny. I think they're both so talented and bring so much creative energy and such a unique force to cinematic filmmaking and just evolving the medium in a way that you love to see. If you really are someone that wants to see original films with interesting characters and supreme performances that isn't based off an IP, that is just willing to be just an iconic piece of filmmaking that feels reminiscent of something from maybe 20 years ago, this is that movie. Go watch Marty Supreme if you get the chance. And as a score, I'm going to give this film a 5 out of 5. I think there's just so much going for it that it's just uplifting, it's devastating, it does so much for the audience that this is just something that cannot be ignored. I think it's wholeheartedly deserving of all its Academy Award nominations. It is a great technical feat. It is ambitious in scope. It has great performances. And honestly, I thought Uncut Gems deserved that treatment when that film came out, but it got completely ignored. But that's by the by. We have that moment now where this sort of work is being recognized as it truly should. This film is just so brilliant. And those are my thoughts towards Marty Supreme. If you've seen the movie, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts about this one. Remember to like and subscribe, and if you enjoy the channel, please consider becoming a member, and I'll see you in the next one. Schwep!